With a vibrant personality and online presence, my guest today attracted me to this light. I mean, I saw her, when she had a hair business. I just felt that there was this powerful attraction to good naturedness and a powerful attraction to a life perhaps planned according to, something bigger than she is. And so I said, listen, send that email. Vivian Kaye, you need to come on Sheroes, and she's here joining me today. Vivian Kaye is here to talk about this life of purpose as a woman of color, living around the world, and as a woman of color living around the world who is leaving a mark. And she's here. Vivian, you're so welcome to Sheroes. And I have stalked you. Girl. I have taken a look at every single social media platform you have, gone online, even ordered some wigs back in the day. Clearly, this Vivian I'm about to speak to, or this Vivian I'm seeing, came from somewhere. Take us back to that moment when you became the Vivian that we know now.
Yeah, I'll take you back, 10 years now. So my 35th birthday, I threw myself a big fancy birthday party. And as I was blowing out the candles, I felt this need, like this, not even a need, I would say like an emptiness that I've been feeling for a while. And, I was running a successful wedding decor business and that was going really well, but there was still something lacking and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And so I remember blowing out the candles, and my wish was for God to do what he needed to do with me. Like I was done trying to control it and, trying to make my life make my life the way I thought it should be. And I just decided to just let go and let God. And so that was I want to say it was late because my birthday's late November. Actually, I think your birthday's a couple of days after mine. Um, but it was late November, and then 2 weeks later, I started KinkyCurlyYaki, and then immediately after the first couple of weeks, I saw that it was going to be a hit. And then, later on that year, I found out I was pregnant. And then a year after that, I gave birth to my son. A year after that, I had bought a house. A year after that, I hit my first million. It was just like this. All these things were set in motion all by me just letting go. And so that's literally how it all started.
Wow. Vivian, I love that you've brought, God into the conversation, and, for out of respect for my viewers, I mean, your higher power is your higher power. You choose who or what your higher power should be, and that's fine. But you are saying that you decided one day, on that day, your birthday, to say, you know what, do with me as you will. Did you have any fears? I mean, you're letting go and letting God. Suddenly you're not in control. You are relinquishing all your will, your strength, your power to God and waiting on him. Were you afraid about where he was going to take you?
Well, I don't want to, I don't want to call it fear, and or at least I wouldn't say it was fear in what we think is the traditional sense. I think we have this an unhealthy relationship with fear, when really we should make fear our friend. Because really what fear is just you feeling a ways about something that you've never experienced before, right? So especially when you grow up in North America, you grow up saying, "Oh, you're an independent woman. You can do all these things and do all these things independently. And the only way you can do it is through hard work." And when you finally realize that there's only so far that hard work can take you, that sometimes you just have to rely on the universe, but God, whatever you believe in order to sort of help carry you through. And so really we should turn that fear into our friend, because sometimes that's just excitement disguised as something scary, because doing something you've never done before is scary. So of course your natural reaction is fear, but fear has never killed anyone, right? And they always say that the best things or the greatest things are on the other side of fear. It's on the other side of your comfort zone. So really, it's just really warning your body and your mind, okay, listen, what you're about to do is outside our comfort zone. So I'm just warning you. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do that thing because of fear. Make fear your friend and just go for it. Because I don't know, I'm one of those people who, I figure out the parachute on my way down. So I'll jump off a cliff and then, let me figure out the parachute. If I land hard, then I'll be like, okay, you know what? I should have maybe opened the parachute a little bit earlier. Let me go back up and try again. And so that's just the type of person I've always been. I've always marched to the beat of my own drum. I've always thrown spaghetti at the wall and, tried to, whatever stuck. Okay, cool. Well, let's go with that. But I don't want to ever regret not trying to do something.
So, Vivian, what kind of personality does it take to throw all the spaghetti on the wall and then just basically sit back and say, okay, let's see what we get out of that? What does it take? What personality is it?
Basically, you have to be really, and you also have to be willing to fail. And I think that's a huge thing with a lot of people, is that they're afraid to fail. They're afraid of looking stupid. They're afraid of looking silly. They're afraid of disappointing their friends, their family, themselves. But if you speak to anyone who has had any sort of success in life, guess what? That that road to success was littered with failures. And so you can't be risk averse. If you're not willing to take a risk, if you're not willing to look silly, if you're not willing to fail and feel like you've disappointed everyone or even yourself, then that's, unfortunately, this life isn't for you. And so for me, it's just been I'm always like, why not? Like, what's the worst that could happen? The worst that could happen is I could, something terrible could happen to me, but something terrible could happen to me even if I was just sitting on the couch doing nothing. So I might as well go for it. So really, you have to have the personality or even the mindset of, whatever doesn't kill me will make me stronger. And honestly, it's made me one of the strongest women that I know.
Well, Vivian, I'm listening to you, and besides making me laugh, I'm thinking, you're taking all these risks, you're deciding, listen, I'm gonna leave everything to the higher power, to God, to do. But what about the people around you? What about the environment around you? What was your support system like when you were shifting and when you're turning things around and when you were jumping down, and opening the parachute too late? Tell me about that support system.
Well, ever since even when I was in elementary school, high school, they always tried to put me into a box or they tried to put me into a box, but I've always known that I was a parallelogram. Now, what a parallelogram is, I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's not a box, right? So I've always marched to the beat of my own drum. So everybody was always used to, okay, well, there's Vivian again, just marching to the beat of her own drum. Right. And it's actually interesting because I'm one of four girls and I'm the only one that's just been the risk taker. The one that would just do all the things that, shouldn't have worked out, but by the grace of God, it worked out. I'm always saying that, some people always say, oh, I'm my ancestors' wildest dreams. I say that I'm my mother's wildest dreams, because sometimes she'll be like, hey, Vivian, don't do, oh, it's not safe. It's not, oh, well, you should worry, whatever. And then when she sees me do it and I've succeeded, she's like, aha, that's my girl. She does the typical mother worry, but then when I succeed or even when I fail, she still supports me no matter what. So my family has always been super supportive of whatever I've done. And especially when it's been successful, they'd be like, yeah, we knew you were going to be, successful, but we were just scared about the way you were doing it.
Vivian, I want you to bring me to the space of talking about a solution, right? Now, you managed to create a solution that to us as women might seem as the simple solution. Our hair, our crown. But you took our needing to have a perfect crown and turned it into a successful business. How did you do it? How did you find that giving a woman the most beautiful crown was a solution to either a very simple or an easy or complicated situation that she may be going through? Walk me through it.
Well, I've always been a problem solver. I'm always solutions oriented. And so while I was running the wedding decor business, I wanted something that looked quote unquote professional. And so really I was trying to solve my own problem. And in trying to solve my own problem, I was doing a lot of my own research. So that means I was in Facebook groups and hair care forums trying to solve my own problem. And of course, while trying to solve my own problem, I saw that there were other Black women that also had the same issue. They wanted hair that looked like it grew out of their head. And so I sort of, I was looking for my own solution. I found the solution. And then I started wearing the solution again, because I was just trying to solve my own problem. And it wasn't until I met another Black woman at a networking event, and she asked me who my hairdresser was and what my regimen was for getting my hair to look the way it did. And I was like, girl, it's a weave. And she said I would buy that. And I thought to myself, first of all, the light bulb went off because I bought it. She's saying to my face that she would buy it. And I also saw that there were people online that said they would buy it. So for me, it wasn't necessarily, I didn't start the business to necessarily make money. I started it to solve my own problem and to give myself the confidence to show up as myself in the spaces that I needed to show up in. And then I thought, well, if this is providing me with the confidence, and it's not like I wasn't confident before, but as you know, as a Black woman, when we walk into spaces, we're immediately judged, we're immediately critiqued. And one of the first things they critique is our hair, right? So they deem, curly Afro type hair as unprofessional. And so this was a time when that tide was starting to change. It was starting to turn. And however our hair grew out of our heads was what, we have to show them that this is what we consider professional. If you don't like it, then that's none of my business, right? And so it was very much a matter of giving myself confidence. And then it turned out that I was also giving other Black women the confidence. And so really that was my drive behind the business, was to give Black women, no matter where they were in the world, the confidence to show up as themselves wherever they show up. So for me, that was my driving force.
We'll be back with more on She Rose. The world of Anita Erskine She Rose gets more exciting by the minute. I mean, I meet all these women, both online and in person. When we go around the world, we call it Anita Erskine She Rose, globally speaking. And whenever you find us one-on-one, of course, it's a conversation worth having. But whatever it is, don't forget to subscribe to Anita Erskine Network on YouTube. Click on that bell button so that you can get notified whenever there's a new episode of Anita Erskine She Rose up and live. Of course, it's every Thursday at 1900 hours UTC. Our women are speaking. Are you listening? Vivian, just before the break, you were talking about the solution that you gave yourself that eventually became a bigger solution to women like you, women of color. When you were running this business and you were providing such an extraordinary solution to what I like to call our crown, how was it feeding your soul? What was it doing to your soul?
What is it doing to my soul? I would say, if anything, it's very satisfying to know that I'm helping, and I'm helping Black women in like an invisible way. So it's not necessarily something that's loud and proud. And it's actually interesting because I don't get a lot of customer photos, or at least tagged photos on any social media platforms, because a lot of people just want to rock their hair quietly. Right. So a lot of the customers that I have are professionals, so doctors and teachers and lawyers, celebrities in the media, and they just wear the hair quietly. They don't say anything. They don't, and I'm fine with that, because that means that they feel like themselves and no one's asking them where they bought that hair. And so for me, it just gives me a sort of, it gives me this rich satisfaction. It helps me, like, especially on those days when I feel like, that feel, you're just feeling like, and then I remember that, there's this woman who wrote to me who had cancer, and her hospital didn't have wigs that looked, they had a wig program, and her hospital didn't have a wig that looked like hers. And when she bought our hair, she was able to feel like herself. Like that impact is immeasurable, and it's priceless, and it's worth all the pain and sorrow that I've ever been through in order to grow and scale this business. But that's the joy that it brings me.
So, Vivian, I know that you've had a very successful last few years, but surely no success is without failure and challenges. But if there was a situation or a challenge that almost crippled you, how did you pick up the pieces, and who did you become, or who have you become in those instances where that challenge is rocking you right to the bone marrow?
Hmm. Who have I become in that moment? Well, honestly, if I have to be 100% transparent, right now I am struggling. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, but my company was recently acquired. So late last year, another business based in the United States acquired my business. And so now, it's interesting because I spent the last decade building this business. And it's like watching your child grow up, right? And watching your child take on its own, their own personality and doing their own thing, and they don't quite need you anymore. And I'm surprised at how much of a struggle it's been for me. And I don't think it's because I necessarily saw us as the same. Like, it's not like KinkyCurlyYaki was me and I was Kinky Curly. You know what? I take that back. That's how it was, because I grew the business out of my own need. And then, I sent it out into the world, and everybody, took advantage of it and supported my business. And now it's like it doesn't need me anymore. So, um, it's been challenging, right? And especially these past few years have been challenging. But I feel like this is just the beginning of a new chapter. Um, because it's actually interesting that it's 10 years. So last year, late last November, I turned 45. So it's like this is the new chapter. And it's interesting because it's like I'm letting go and I'm letting God, but it's like I don't know what's happening. Like, I really don't know what my direction is, but I know it's going to be okay. And that was sort of all over the place, but that's how I feel inside.
Yeah, I know. I can only imagine. But Vivian, let's talk about the African woman. What do you think the African woman should do with her life? How should she feel? How should she think? How should she act? Who should she be? What should she celebrate about herself?
I think a lot of us need to be more ourselves. Like, one of the things that I said, I did a whole series on my Instagram, and I called it, 45 things that I don't regret at 45. And my last thing that I said that I do regret was not being my full self sooner. And so I feel like we spend a greater, and especially African women, we spend a good portion of our lives sort of living for other people and living for doing things that other people think we should be doing and what society expects us to do. And then suddenly, you hit your 40s and sometimes you're like, well, what have I done with my life? What impact have I done? So really, and I'm actually starting to see it in the younger generations, but there's the African women are starting to be themselves more earlier. So I want to see more of us being ourselves and not bowing to societal pressures and doing the things that we think that everyone thinks we should be doing, but we don't want to do them, but we're doing them because we feel like we're holding up some sort of responsibility that we need to do. So I would say I want to see more of us being our complete and full and true selves and being authentic to ourselves earlier.
So, Vivian, having said that, wanting African women to be, essentially, if I understand you, be true to yourself, discover yourself, and do it earlier. You don't have to wait. Be authentic to with yourself. What is the Vivian Kaye magic? I mean, is there a life lesson you live by? Is there a quote you live by? What is there a mission, vision, whatever it is? What is your life lesson?
One of the first things that pops up to mind is it's a line from a Michael Jackson song, and it's "Life ain't so bad at all if you live it off the wall." And so what that essentially means is you could, lean up against the wall and just be a bystander and watch your life just pass you by, or you could be proactive, you could be active in your life and make things happen. And so I would say that's one of them. And then this other one, which I have right here behind me, which is why fit in when you were born to stand out. So, and you don't have to stand out like me. I always say you have to shine like you don't have to shine like me. Everything shines, lights shine, diamonds shine, the sun shines, mirrors shine. So be the best version of yourself and shine the way you have to shine, because somebody out there is watching, and you may think nobody's watching. There is always somebody watching. So, you shouldn't underestimate the impact you're going to have on one person. So shine the way you know how to shine. And then lastly, one of the things that I'm known for, and especially if you're in North America or in Europe, or the Western world, I always say, what would Chad do? And Chad is that mediocre white guy doing all the things he has no business doing, but he's doing them because he has the audacity. And I find that with women, and especially African women, women of color, we tend to, not only do we have to work 10 times as hard to get the same thing that white men get, but we also start to underestimate what our experiences are, our expertise, especially when we compare them to our white male counterparts. So we see them doing all these things that they have no business doing. And so when you feel that, let's just say if you're about to apply for a job and you only have 4 out of the 5 qualifications, Chad would apply for that job with 0 qualifications and he would get it because he has that audacity. He feels like it is his right to whatever it is that he's applying for, whether that be a job or money or grants or whatever the case may be. And so I always feel like whenever I start to doubt myself or my expertise, I stop and ask myself, what would Chad do? What would a mediocre white man do in my place? And then I just do it. And I always think to myself, again, what's the worst that could happen? They could say no. But did I die? No, I didn't. Right. My feelings may be a little bit hurt, but you know what? You dust yourself off and try again, because there's always someone that's going to say yes. You just need to find that person, or find the opportunity, or find whatever it is that you think is meant for you. Right. And so I would say those are my 3 things. And if all else fails, just ask yourself, why not? Why not?
Why not? We'll be right back after the break. The world of Anita Erskine Shiros gets more exciting by the minute. I mean, I meet all these women, both online and in person. When we go around the world, we call it Anita Erskine Shiros, globally speaking. And whenever you find us one-on-one, of course, it's a conversation worth having. But whatever it is, don't forget to subscribe to Anita Erskine Network on YouTube. Click on that bell button so that you can get notified whenever there's a new episode of Anita Erskine Shiros up and live. Of course, it's every Thursday at 1900 hours UTC. Our women are speaking. Are you listening? Vivian, thank you so much for being my guest on Anita Erskine Shiros tonight. And honestly, I can't wait to see what you do with your next 10 years.
Hopefully it's going to be in Ghana, because that's the plan. Come to Ghana and do what? I don't know. But in the world. What?
It's a boss lady thing.